Hey there. Before we get started, I just wanted to come on and ask you all a favor. In our research, we've discovered that the vast majority of you do not actually like and subscribe to our podcast. And so, if I could ask you to do so, I won't ask you for anything else. And I promise to make this podcast the best I can every day. Me and the team really strive to do that for you. And so, if you could do this for us, we would be eternally grateful. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Mickelle Weber, founder and auteur of House of Peregrine. Expat, immigrant, pioneer, none of these were a fit, but Peregrine describes what we are all about perfectly. Those that craft their life story with intention. I've spent the last 6 years in awe of the life-changing connections and stories I have experienced while living abroad, and believe it is time for this adventure to be recognized, celebrated, and elevated to the life stage that it is. Through these interviews, I hope to connect those living internationally more deeply to both the place they are living and with themselves and those around them. We cover everything from international finances and meaning-making to global parenting and relationships to make your time abroad more intentional, edifying, and full of beauty. Find us at houseofperegrine.com, where you can find more ways to connect with the ethos of Peregrine. I hope you enjoy today's guest. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Today I'm interviewing Ines Dominguez del Corral. She is created and stars in the upcoming Welcome Home, a play that invites us to wonder and maybe even define for ourselves what home actually is. She is a true peregrine, born to Colombian parents in Wales, with a beautiful childhood in Colombia where she attended a German school. After graduation, she moved to Germany and later Austria and the United States to perform and study musical theater before moving to the Netherlands. It is a place she now calls a home, and her metric for knowing that comes in the form of a visceral, somatic experience of ease. Ines shares what compelled her to create a show that explores the concept and meaning of home, which included interviewing people in their actual houses from different places around the world. Home can sometimes be a complex concept for our peregrine community, but Ines invites us to go inward and begin to explore what it means to us and revel in whatever we find on that journey. Welcome Home is playing on October 18th at 8:30 p.m. in Tilburg at the Schouwburg Concert Saal. Click below in the link to find tickets. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Welcome, Ines. Thanks for joining me today. I am so happy to have you on and speak about your work and who you are as an artist. I want to start, if you're okay with that, with what you live in the Netherlands now, but tell me about your growing up. What brought you into the work you're doing now, maybe?
Thank you. Thank you, Mickelle. It's really nice to be here with you and talk about this. So I'm originally from Colombia, but my story is a bit peculiar, like I think a lot of stories are, because I was actually born in Wales to Colombian parents, and we moved to Colombia when I was 2. And I grew up there in Colombia until I was 18. And when I was 18, I went to a German high school in Colombia, or to a German school from when I was 4 until I was 18. And so after I graduated from high school, I moved to Germany to study there acting and voice and dance. And I lived in Germany for 2 years and I studied there. And then I moved to Austria and I went to the conservatory there in Vienna for another 2 years. And there I also participated in the Vienna International Dance Festival. And so that is a little bit what kept me there in Vienna at that time.
Yeah.
And then Yes.
So I just want to back up a little bit and talk about, because you said a lot of things there that we love to talk about here at House of Peregrine. And so you were you had Colombian parents living in Wales. Let's start there. Like what memories do you have of that time of being, maybe, what was your experience? Because that's an experience all in itself of having, would you call it immigrant parents, or would you call it expat parents, or would you call it parents that weren't from Wales?
I would just call it parents that were not from Wales, but we still had a lot of connections to Wales and to England, because my mom had lived there before when she was around my age. She studied in Oxford. My grandparents were living there. My aunt married also an Englishman. And so when my parents got married in Colombia, my dad wanted to do his master's and he moved to Cardiff, to Wales. And my mother was pregnant, so she had me there. And when my dad was done with his master's, that was about 2 years after, then we decided to move back to Colombia for his work. So,
and were you okay? Were you happy about that? Were you excited, or like, how did you?
I mean, I was 2, so I didn't really have much saying.
Yeah, okay.
I was born there, and then when I was 2 years old, we moved back to Colombia. So I don't remember much from that or anything at all, just from pictures and things like that. But we did keep going back to Wales to visit cousins and family and my grandparents for a long time, maybe once a year at least for several years during my childhood. So I have very fond memories of that time. There's a lot of things there that do feel like home for me. Yeah. So that's the connection that I have with Wales.
And what was it like growing up in Colombia? Can you paint us a picture about that a little bit?
Oh, it was also in Colombia. We moved a little bit. My mother is from Medellin. My dad is from Cali. And I grew up first a couple of years in Bogota, then in Cali, and then again in Bogota. But in general, the whole experience of growing up in Colombia, I mean, even though I was born in Wales, Colombia is really what I consider my home country. And it was the most beautiful, most idyllic childhood and upbringing that I could have wished for. It was really, really dreamlike. It was, it was beautiful. I have 2 younger brothers. It was us playing in the garden, playing outside, really nice weather, lots of friends, lots of family around, visiting family, going up on the mountains. A lot of time spent in nature. My grandmother from my father's side is also a very special character. She's also the one who awakened in me, I would say, this love for acting, for art, for performing arts. She's super creative. So we grew up also putting up plays and dressing up and playing around and performing just for fun, for family. So it was really, I would say, it was a childhood surrounded by nature, family, unconditional love.
Yeah, nice. So you talked about, you said your grandmother that was really special? Yeah. And so she kind of encouraged you to be creative and do your thing from when you were young. And so you got to have that early champion, I guess. Or is that how you would see it?
That's exactly how I see it. Yeah. Because if you ask me, do you come from a family of artists or performing artists? Not per se, except for my grandmother, who really was all like very much into theater and creating her own things and dressing up. And the beautiful thing about it is that she was not a professional actress, but she made life just a big play or a big musical or a big performance. And she always, even when she gets together with her friends, she takes out hats and puts them on and dresses up as different characters, and she talks in different voices, and all the friends also do it with her. And so, yeah, she was definitely my first hero, artistic reference.
Oh, that's really, really lovely. And so do you think she saw something in you, or do you think that she saw you as like someone to come into her world?
Well, I was always, even when from a very young age, very involved in all the theater things in school already from when I was 4, and I would sing and I would be in voice lessons and always on stage anyway. But for my grandmother, I think it was like she would encourage me and all of my cousins to just put up plays and play these games. But I guess at some point when everybody started getting older, when we were already maybe in puberty or teenagers or something, of course, then a lot of my cousins didn't want to do it anymore, or they were a bit more ashamed, or they were like, this is not for me. But I guess she kept seeing that I was the one who was still excited about it, who was still super engaged. So I think that was really more where at some point it was also like, oh, you know what? I also want to do this professionally.
That's cool. So she let you stay in that so you got to stay in that while everyone else was kind of growing out of their maybe normal childhood playing. I always say, like, I think being an artist is like being, getting to keep part of your childhood. And so maybe she allowed you a little bit to have an adult to play with. That's really lovely. So when your family, so you remember when did your whole family leave Colombia to move back to Wales, or was it just you?
No.
Or you went to Germany.
Exactly.
You went to Germany.
So I grew up in Colombia with my two younger brothers and with my parents. And then like usual, when you're 18, then you go off to college. And I just decided that college for me was in Germany, as opposed to in Colombia, how it usually was for also most of my friends from high school who decided to stay in Colombia for their college. But I thought, if I have the opportunity, if I speak German and I have the opportunity to maybe explore this artistic career in Germany, then I would like to do that. So I moved there.
And were your parents okay with that?
Yes, actually, yes. Yeah. You know, with my dad, the discussion was more, what do you want to do now after high school? And I said, I want to study performing arts. And he said, I'm totally on board with that as long as you get your degree. So for him, it was very important that I got a degree. And now later on, of course, I have very much, I understood it from the beginning, but I have also really realized how important that was from the beginning, that I did that. So yes, I did have the total and complete support from my parents from the beginning, thankfully.
Yeah, that's great. And they had that experience, right? Because your mom and your dad studied
they studied away. Exactly. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And did they share with you at all why they decided to do that? Was it just a different, what was it that took them away, do you think?
I think my parents always wanted my brothers and I to be very worldly, and to just in general, they really wanted us to make the world our oyster, and for us to have the feeling that there were no borders, and that there was that if you had the possibilities, or you could create the possibilities for yourself to go and experience life somewhere else and know people from other places, learn their language, get to know, like that's also the reason why I went to a German school in the first place in Colombia. It was because in the German school we would learn German, English, French, and my parents knew, or they thought that languages were the future, and that if you could have those languages so that you could eventually move to other places for a little bit, communicate with people in their own language, then that would open a lot of doors for you, both professionally and personally. And they always encouraged that cultural exchange for us, and they wanted us to really be able to get to know a lot of different cultures and find ourselves in different countries. And yeah.
So it was something they wanted for you. So you and your brothers both went to German school, or was it just a choice?
High school. Yeah.
Ah, cool. That's really, I can relate to that. I definitely want the same for my kids. So that's really cool. And so they were like, okay, go to school in Germany. And do you think that was just something that was part of your family then? So it wasn't something that was strange, or it kind of seemed like a natural next step for you to go?
Yes, it did seem, for me, it was really like, I'm just going to hop over a little puddle. For me, really, at a young age, even, it was still like, let me just go and eventually I'll come back. I really didn't think much about it. And I knew that I could always come back if I didn't like it. But I have to say, even though we had the fortune to be able to travel a lot when I was a kid also, this still moving away from home when you're 18 by yourself is still a bigger a bigger thing to swallow. And I had a lot of hardships, even though I had this remote support from my parents, and yeah, and now I think it definitely shaped who I am. The fact that I moved away from home when I was 18, like that's pretty young now that I see it. I was
Yeah, now that you see it, you thought it was fine, but now that you're looking back, you're adding a lot of extra everything, good and hard, I think. I can imagine that might be. So you then were able to go to school, and then you studied there and then moved to Austria.
So studying the performing arts is a very tricky thing in Europe and elsewhere, but especially in Europe for all the public universities, the public schools. Hundreds of people audition and they just accept 6 people or 5, or so. A lot of my time was also getting ready and preparing for those auditions. So those 2 years that I was in Germany, actually, I was studying acting with a coach, dancing. I was studying dancing in an academy, and then voice with another coach. And they have all become mentors for me for the rest of my career, because they really, I started my journey with them, really, my professional journey. And so those 2 years, that's what I did in Germany. And I traveled through Europe, auditioning for all the schools. I auditioned in Berlin and in Essen and in London and in Vienna and in Munich. And eventually then I got accepted in Vienna at the conservatory. So I moved there and I studied there for 2 years in Vienna.
Did you know that House of Peregrine has an app? It is full of resources, information, and products to make life as an international more connected and more intentional. As a member of House of Peregrine, you also now have access to exclusive discounts, products, guides, and events to make life more fun and connected. Simply download the app at houseofperegrine.com and save it to your home screen. Okay, back to the show. And let us know, if you wouldn't mind. So I have some insight into this world, so I think I know what you're talking about a little bit. I worked as a film director for a lot of years, but I'd like you to walk us through, our listeners through, what studying as a performing arts person looks like. So there's university, there's these things that other people do, but as an artist, what do your days look like in Vienna? Like, how do you structure it? It's not always set up for you. You kind of have to seek out people to hone your craft. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So it was in Vienna, because it was a conservatory. It was a much more, it was more practical studies. And I had maybe like 5 hours of dance a day. Then I had 1 hour of voice, and then an hour of acting. Like in average, it was like that. So it was very physically, strenuous, but nice. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed everything that I was learning there. However, I was missing a little bit of all the theory behind, for example, the music theory. But this is, of course, I guess every career is different. I'm talking about from a perspective of somebody who studied musical theater. That was what I did. And I was missing a bit of the theory and a little bit of other classes about music history and musical theater history and harmony and solfege, and all of those I was missing. So I stayed in Vienna though for 2 years still, because I got cast in a piece called Love Songs that performed at the Vienna International Dance Festival, and it was a more contemporary dance, physical theater piece that really, it was like, I would say my first professional job as an actress and dancer and singer. And that went on for 2 years, and I was really very happy doing that and performing, and we were performing a lot, and I had very great colleagues, and I was learning a lot. And for me, it was also a wonderful opportunity. So that's also why I waited, and I stayed at the conservatory for 2 years in total, and didn't seek out to go somewhere else, because I had this professional opportunity that was so wonderful for me. But then when that was over, when that was done, I thought, actually, I would like to graduate from a school in the United States. That had at some point been an idea for me to do that. I thought in Vienna, even though I was super happy and I really liked my life there, I thought for me it was getting a little bit too existential. It was now the cultural shock was getting to me a little bit, like a delayed reaction after 4 years of living in Europe already. I was both in the arts and in my personal life. I was just.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about that. Like, can you tell us a little bit more about that cultural shock? I think we can all relate, but I'd love to hear you describe it.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shock for me to come to Germany just from the beginning, and hear how some people approached life, even though I have a lot of love for the German culture, and I have a lot of friends and family there. I come from a life view in Colombia where if you don't have the opportunity, you look for the opportunity, you make it for yourself, you go seek it out. If something is in theory not possible, you look for the loophole. You really fight for it with joy and with a lot of excitement and optimism. And from the first moment that I arrived in Germany, it said, here in the rules, it says you cannot do this, so you can't do it. And if you don't play the piano, then don't even bother applying for the school. And things like that. So, and for me, it was always like, wow, but I just came from a completely different worldview. And that continued on for those 2 years that I was in Germany, where I felt like a lot of things that for me were easy or were possible before now were less possible, less easy. The winter also was very difficult for me. It got to me. I didn't even know how to deal with it. You have to think, like, growing up in Colombia, and even little things you would think, like the winter, and everybody got so excited about the snow and all of these things. And for me, it was just like, what jacket do I buy? I bought like 5 jackets thinking, okay, this is going to be the one. No, not enough. Next jacket, a little warmer, not enough. Like, I had no idea even how to deal with it, like how to not slip in the snow, eat things that for people are just day-to-day things. So all those things kind of started to contribute to me getting a little bit less positive about my perspectives about the future, doing arts that was really wonderful and also very deep. But then because of this depth, also a bit heavy and a bit darker. And I just started wintering, I think.
Yeah. And wintering is a really good term, actually. I think, was it Catherine May's book of Wintering, that she describes this process of grieving and going within in different seasons of your life. And so you recognize it now, but at the time, as an 18, 19-year-old, did you recognize it then?
I wouldn't have been able to put it into these words, at least. But I do remember going back home to Colombia and my mom saying that to me. I see some darker tones in you that I think maybe are taking you down too much. I think you're missing the sun, physical and the metaphorical sun.
Yeah. And so with her guidance, you saw that and you agreed and then decided to move on. So then what happened after Vienna?
So then I applied for a university in the US. I wanted to finish my Bachelor of Music with an emphasis in musical theater. I also saw a lot of, I had done a very, very big research on the good schools for musical theater in the United States. And I also thought, I don't want to go somewhere in the States that is maybe somewhere where I don't know anybody again, or somewhere that it's, for me, a bit of in the middle of nowhere. So I decided to apply for the Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C., because I had some acquaintances there in D.C. And I applied remotely from Vienna, and I got in. And I just also packed my bags and went. And also the people from the conservatory in Vienna said, "What are you doing? You're throwing all of this away." I didn't have much support. And I always it's always been like this in my life, that I've just went. Haven't thought much about it.
Yeah. Yeah, much better. I'm making you think about it today. Sorry. But it sounds like you learned from Vienna and from Germany to be more well-resourced. So you went somewhere where you already had kind of a base. And so you protected yourself a little bit that way, but also didn't stop you from following what you needed to do.
And I think a lot of it has been for me, and now I also see it, that, I mean, I said I don't think about it much, but I just mean like, I just listen to my intuition a lot. And
yeah,
I also think that intuition is something that you should train, because sometimes it can lie to you. But all of these decisions that I've made in my life have helped me be able to listen to that inner voice that is telling me, I think this is the right way to go.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that's a life lesson for everybody, but especially when you're doing something that people don't understand, maybe, or don't understand what's drawing you, but also don't understand the life or the picture you're painting for yourself in your life. And so being able to listen to that sometimes is the only way you get to do what you need to do. And so I think if you've made a life that people don't understand, or maybe wasn't exactly the one that you saw all the time, it's actually a really important skill. So I'm glad that you recognize that. And so when you were in DC, tell me how that was. Was that must have been another culture shock?
Absolutely. Such a big shock. Imagine, I mean, for me, it was coming from Vienna, from doing these experimental performances, from very independent life, coming to Washington, D.C., to live almost on campus, with also seeing all these other American kids starting freshman year of college, you know, partying and doing all these things, and like going to Starbucks. And I thought, what is this?
Like, I'm a serious artist. What are you guys doing?
I didn't think it like that. And at that moment, I was also very excited to be there. But you know what also was a shock for me was that they were saying, "Oh my gosh, I love you. Oh my gosh, I love you." And I thought, what? No. You don't love me. You don't love me. What are you saying? That's a very big word, you know? So, so all those things. But I think I just remember I have this picture of this girl coming to class at 8 a.m. with her huge Starbucks with some cream, freshly showered, all smelling great, and just with a huge smile, just very happy to be in class. And I thought, how refreshing. You know, I really needed this. And I really needed this, I would say, this lightness, and also this joy, and sometimes just enjoying also the little things in life. Not everything needs to be so heavy. And so for me, it was a perfect balance to have come from this European world in Austria, where also I was able to explore my art in such depth, and I knew also I got to see how far I wanted to go also, but then go to the United States where also at least the point of view is a little bit more similar to our culture in Colombia, how we see the world, I think, and how we approach things with a little more lightness and joy. That's how I would describe it.
Yeah. So you feel like you came in and were able to find your culture in that culture a little bit easier, or at least what you needed to experience from your culture in that culture.
It was exactly what I needed at that moment. And I made really great friendships.
Yeah,
And I was also happy that I had that experience in Europe before, and that I didn't start school in the States when I was 18, like a freshman, like everybody else. It was also a little bit difficult for me because I was already 22, coming in to study with people who were 18, and it was their first time not living at home. And for me, I mean, I had already 4 years of living by myself somewhere else. So, but it was also good because I was a bit like, I never had the feeling of I have to belong or I have to be friends with whoever. No, I always just made my way, and I was there to learn and to study and to get my degree. And also from the moment that I arrived in DC, I started working also in professional theaters. So that was really good that I had that. It was really busy, but it was a great.
Yeah, and maybe I'm speaking. So it feels like you did the reverse of what a lot of actresses do, is they explore at least where I come from, that they explore these higher tones, but then they get to the lower tones. And you've done it in reverse, so you're able to pull it through, and that's actually a really it's really beautiful and unique, I think, especially at that young age, which is really fun. And so just really quickly, how would you describe, I've had other friends try and describe the difference between like American theater, film, and European. And so how would you sum that up? If I'm putting you on the spot, but I would love to hear your insights, and you can't offend us because we're people that listen are from everywhere. So there's no offending. So it's from your point of view.
Well, that's a very, very big discussion. And it's also a very big question in my head still. But I think in the United States, art is still very much, as wonderful as it is still sometimes catered too much to audiences. So audiences get to define what they want to see, and then that is what is given to them then, which I'm also not saying is a bad thing. I think it's very good to actually take your audience into account. You should, as an artist. And I think here in Europe, even though it's a lot of countries, but in the European performing arts, maybe it's a little more selfish. Also not only negatively, but a bit more that the artist really can be fulfilled, and that they do something that they feel that they can just do the arts that they believe in, regardless of how it's taken by the audience, or of how they're coming across, or if the audience is understanding it, is coming along for the ride or isn't. Is like there's kind of a barrier sometimes. Also, I'm the artist, and if you didn't get it, then sorry.
That is so interesting. That is such a really good. So would you say it borders on like self-indulgent, or is it just the artist is bringing like it's there if people want it, it's there, and if they don't want it, it's fine?
I think it's also sadly a little bit this individualistic view of I am myself. I'm going to just be myself, express myself however you want. And if that bothers you, if you don't get it, it's because you don't get it. And I'm an artist. So that has also always clashed with me a bit, of people justifying a lot of behaviors and things by I'm an artist and you just don't get it. It's like, well, hold on, but you also have a responsibility towards others and society. And that is something that I also work a lot on in my art, is that I try to stay true to the artist in me, to what I want to express artistically. But I want my art to also be accessible and that people can understand it, and that I'm not, yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like that's something that's really important to you, that what you need to flows through you, but then you also bring others
Yes,
along.
and I think I see it less from a point of view of, oh, I want this to sell well and I want this to be commercially successful. For me, it's more, I see it more as an act of kindness that I want to participate in, that I want to be able to, if my dad is not an artist. I want him to be able to come to the theater and still enjoy things that he sees, and of course be challenged by the things that he sees. And I don't only mean my art, but in general. It would be nice if they also consider that sometimes they are also performing for people who are not non-artists, and they come from very different backgrounds, and the audience is very thirsty and very hungry to see things that they can somehow grasp.
Yeah. And do you think that is the responsibility of art in some way, is to bring people into their depths or into new realms?
I do think so, because otherwise then you would never need an audience. And why are you even inviting an audience? And why are you even performing for an audience if you are constantly saying that you are doing this for yourself?
Yeah. So for you, that exchange is incredibly important to what you do, why you do it. Maybe it's part of who you are innately, is to bring people.
And it has increasingly become so, as this is something I have to say that I am learning and that I'm working on, because I also sometimes would tend to do a lot of very abstract things, very, very metaphorical, that would make sense to me maybe and to some other artists. But then actually when you put it up on stage, this is not accessible for an audience. So this is an aspect that I'm placing a lot of value in now, that I am learning, and that I think is extremely important, that I make things that are for others also, as well as for me.
Yeah. So this is your growing edge as an artist, but also it's like your new frontier or your new challenge. Yeah, that's really interesting. Okay, let me ask you one more hard question, but then, so do you think in order to get somewhere new, you have to have that self-indulgent part of your journey as an artist? If you're trying to figure out what it is you want to say, or what it is that you uniquely can bring to the world, do you have to have those more abstract, what you've already done, what you were doing before? Do you think there's a part of me that thinks that to do something new or to bring something new to the world, you have to have that exploration, that more abstract exploration?
Absolutely. I do think that. I do think so. I don't know how it would be if I hadn't had the possibility to explore this art in depth, and to break all my limits and break my own boundaries. So I don't know what the alternative would have been, but I can only be grateful for all the things that I have found, because I have broken all these things within myself to find myself as an artist, to find my own voice. I am really constantly questioning things and trying to break another limit, try to question another one of my beliefs, and try to explore things in a different way and approach interpretations with using other things.
And you're doing that for the collective. Like as an artist, I think maybe you feel that you're doing that for the collective and then bringing it to them.
Yes, I think I'm doing that for myself also, because I think that is the internal work as a performing artist. But then also at some point, it also reflects in the arts that you perform and that you put up. I think that people can tell, that it is clear and it is visible in the art that you make, whether or not you have gone to those places and you have opened yourself up to being vulnerable, really, or not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really beautiful. And so I think I want to now go from, you studied in DC. Is there anything you want to tell us about in DC, or can we see you moving to Amsterdam? I'd love to now hear that story. Or what was Amsterdam next? I guess I should ask.
No, it wasn't. We can hop to the Netherlands now. I live in The Hague.
Oh yeah.
But between DC and the Netherlands, there were 2 years in New York. So I just shortly summarized, right after college in DC, I got scouted by an agent in New York. And so she asked me to move to New York. So I did. And I did work there also for 2 years until the pandemic started. And then the reason why I moved to the Netherlands was this very big thing that happened in the world. Otherwise, I don't think I would be here.
Wow. And so was that you need to be back in Europe? Like, if I can ask, like, was it doesn't sound like it was your choice, or did you just need to be back in Europe for like visas or family?
You know what it was actually? After also 5 years in the States, I was thinking, oh, I miss Europe a little bit. Now I've done this, and now I maybe would like to go back at some point. But then I was actually performing in a really nice show in DC. So officially living in New York, but they took me to DC to do a show. And the pandemic started. So all the theaters closed. We all had to go home. And I decided to just go to Colombia. My parents were there. My brothers were there. Everybody was just at home. The theaters were closed in the United States. So I just went home for what I thought was just going to be 1 month. And I left my apartment in New York with all of my stuff, everything. And that lockdown ended up being in Colombia a 6-month lockdown.
Oh, wow.
And all the while I was thinking, okay, should I go back to the States? At that point, I would have to either renew my artist visa or pay a lot of $1,000 to apply for a green card, and then continue the life that I had built there and get my stuff back and close my apartment. Or should I just open my eyes up to new horizons, maybe think about the possibility to move back to Europe, at least for some time? And for a long time, I didn't have any leads. For a long time, I didn't have any clarity on what the next step should be. So I found a master's here in the Netherlands that I thought would be really good. I always wanted to do my master's, but had never had the opportunity because I was always performing. And so that was always, I guess, more important at that time. But this was like, there were no performances happening. Theaters were still closed.
Yeah, you were out of, like, there was no way you could continue doing what you were doing. It basically stopped you from doing whatever you were doing. Wow.
And my manager in New York also said, if you're thinking of doing your master's, this is the perfect time. The industry is not going to come back for some time now. So I thought, okay, this sounds great. I looked for the master's. Here in the Netherlands, I applied. Also was a big thing for me at that time. And I got in, and I remember we were still all at home, locked down in Colombia. It was a collective effort because everybody was also thinking, I mean, this pandemic really affected artists, and what is now going to happen? And I got in, and I just got the master's was in Tilburg, and I had never been there, and I had been to the Netherlands maybe before. One time I was in Amsterdam for 3 days. That was it. But I just packed a suitcase and I got a humanitarian flight and I just moved here. Also.
Wow. What's a humanitarian flight?
Like either bringing people back to their home countries in the middle of the pandemic, or like those emergency flights that were.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I was stay put through the whole pandemic, so I wasn't. So that's interesting. So then that you took that flight here to Tilburg, and
it was at that point it was, I think, only for Dutch people who had to come back to their country, or for people who lived here in the Netherlands already and needed to come back because their families were here, or for students who needed to come back to study.
Perfect.
Yeah. And
great. So sight unseen, you moved to Tilburg.
I had somehow found a room on Facebook, and I thought I paid for it, and I was hoping I didn't get scammed, and I just arrived there with the suitcase all super jet lagged, had never been there before, and everything went really, really good. Nothing was a scam. Everything was great. And I had the best 2 years of the master's in Tilburg. I was very, very happy.
Great. And now you're in The Hague. You decided to stay for
Yeah,
a
it
little bit
looks
longer.
like it. But yes, I have decided to stay. I have decided to stay. I think the second year of the master's already, I was thinking, I think I'm going to go back to New York. But then little by little, I started also making really good friends. I saw how the industry is here in the Netherlands, that it is something that I could really see myself fitting into. And and then slowly I decided to just stay and not go
Nice.
back to New York.
Yeah. I just want to know, did you just desert your apartment? Did you ever get your stuff back?
Last year. Yeah. So
Oh,
2
you
years
did get your
later,
stuff.
I did. 2 years later, I went to get my stuff back, and I opened a garage, and it was like 16 boxes, 3 suitcases, and I had to reduce everything to 3 suitcases. So I donated everything, and I had to do everything, that whole sorting my things really quickly.
Yeah.
This stays, this goes.
So it was not a proper goodbye, but you did get to say goodbye to that
Yeah.
chapter. Yeah,
A
nice.
bit rushed, but yes.
Yeah, a bit rushed. Yeah, it's interesting. I think the pandemic made us do a lot of things differently, but yeah, that's interesting. So I want to now talk about where you are now. So you've written a show. Do I have that correctly? You've
Yes.
written and it's called Welcome
Yes,
Home.
that's right. That's right.
And you're writing it and directing it, or you've written it and you're acting in it? Tell me tell me all about it.
I've created it. So that means, yes, I'm directing it. I wrote it, and I am performing in it as well. So this is also my first performance, my first show or piece as a theater maker, because I have written things before. I have performed things that I have written before, but this is the first piece that really is completely developed by me from scratch, with including all the research part before, including all the music is written by me as well. So,
Wow.
yeah, now, I mean, all of my performing experience these years has been, performing pieces that already exist, or either classics, musical theater pieces, or classical theater, or even devised theater that I get to work and create with an ensemble, but it's still not originally mine. And this is, and so it's a very, very exciting step in my personal and professional career.
Yeah. So tell me about Welcome Home. Tell me about it, and you can also tell us about what made you. Whenever you make something, there's usually a compulsion or a reason, and so take us through that process.
So all the things that I have talked to you now about, moving so much and moving around, and also moving by myself, and it's always me with my suitcases, with my stuff, packing, unpacking, settling, then having to pack again, then move again. I was thinking a lot about the meaning of home for me, and not only in a physical way, but also in a metaphorical way. I was I was thinking that a lot of things are permeated by this concept, even as simple interaction with a person. Well, how does that interaction make you feel at home, or doesn't? There are some people who make you feel at home by how they are with you, if you feel welcome in their space, or if you don't. Even when you go to visit somebody, what makes you feel at home, like you can take off your shoes and you can just open the fridge, or maybe what doesn't make you feel at home. And also having these thoughts and all the conversations that I was having with other people who had moved around, or other people who were born and raised here in the Netherlands, that a lot of us are really long constantly for a place where we feel like we belong, where we feel like we can just let go. And sometimes that is found in people, sometimes it's found in places, sometimes it's found in unlikely places. And I thought, I really want to make a piece about this, and I want to not only make it individual because in reflecting my own story and my own questions, but also include other people. So this piece also started with a full research from February on, where I actually went to other people's homes and sat with them in their living room and talked with them and had a conversation about the meaning of home for them, which already went all the way back to where they grew up, how they grew up, maybe what their family was like. So all these conversations, I thought first they were going to be just 20 minutes long, and they ended up being an hour and a half, sometimes even, where people really opened up to me. And it was also such an honor for me to have the possibility to receive all of these beautiful stories. And then all the while I was developing this piece where I wanted to also include other people's experiences. And this was going to be and is going to be a theater piece with music. So there are songs that I've composed and that I've written about this topic. And what Welcome Home is also, I define it as a individual and collective exploration on the meaning of home. Because for me, I also don't want to present any answers to people or just deliver any answers to people. Here, come to see this piece and I will teach you something. That's not what I want. But actually, I want the opposite. I want to spark maybe ideas for conversations, or I want to ask even more questions. I want to share in my own search, to also wondering if other people can relate in this search.
Yeah. So you're asking, so it's a question, not a statement.
Mm-hmm. Or many questions.
Yeah. Or a provocation and not an answer. Not a declaration. Welcome home. So that makes me wonder, what is your current definition of home? Not the place, but what is your working assumption about home?
I couldn't say.
So what makes you, if you think back to the moment that when nothing's holding you here in the Netherlands, but you want to stay, you're choosing to stay, what is that?
Yeah. So
it's your intuition, but it's an intuition, but home maybe isn't forever. Maybe home is something that is conditional. Like, is there any words that you've come to identify?
That's a really beautiful way to put it, that I guess it's not just one answer, but a lot of little details and little things that make a home, or that can be a definition for home. So for me, for example, already when sometimes I take the train to go to Germany for a casting or for an audition, and then the train crosses the border back to the Netherlands, and I notice even my breath, how it changes, that I'm breathing more easily. Just the way people look, how they look through their eyes, what their view is, already that for me, instinctually, I can only explain it it's a physical reaction for me, where I feel like I can let go, and where I feel like all the things that should be not organized are not organized. All the things that should go well, go well. For me, it is a place where I feel welcome, where I should feel welcome, or not welcome, where I can still deal with it. So home presents the right amount, or the right struggles, and also the right comforts.
Yeah, that is a really lovely way of describing it. So it's a somatic experience for you, home.
Yes.
And that's a really, and it's different for everyone, of course, but I think especially if you've lived more places, or you've had more homes, or maybe different chapters, you start to find a metric for yourself of when it's time to go and when it's time to stay. And that's a 6th or 10th sense that not everyone gets to experience in their life, I don't think. Mm-hmm. And so I think you've done it at least 3 or 4 or 5 times. Yeah. And so now you're starting to get the hang of it.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. So when people come to see Welcome Home, they can experience the questions you're asking about it. You're bringing up other people's experiences and asking them to maybe come into their own new definition of what home might be. Or maybe is there also in there that you maybe are helping people experience what it feels like to not be
That's
home?
a good question. I think so. So I anticipate that some people will relate to a lot of the things that I say and then will not relate to other things. And I hope that that is the case for sure.
Yeah. And so it's a musical theater. So we'll hear music, we'll see acting. How many people are in the cast?
And with two musicians. So two musicians and colleagues of mine who are also in it.
Oh, nice.
Lucas Sampaglione, he's a classical guitarist, and David Bello, he's from Colombia also, and he's a saxophone player.
Very cool. And it's playing, what is the venue you've chosen for this?
It's at the Schauberg Concertsaal in Tilburg. It's a very big, we would call it very big opera house, but it has like several different smaller theaters. So I performed there in the Salle 3, so the theater number 3, and it's on October 18th at 8:30 p.m.
Okay, and then we'll put how to get tickets in the show notes, but they'll be on sale until the day of, yes, I'm assuming, or exactly. Do we? Okay, cool. And so what do you want people to know before they come? Besides that you're asking a question, you're not giving conclusions. Who's the person you want to see this the most?
I'm really also looking forward to see a lot of non-artists in the audience and people who usually wouldn't come to the theater or wouldn't think of coming to the theater. Sometimes the theater can feel also a little bit too far, too distant, like, oh no, that's just for so-and-so, or the theater is just to go see these and these kinds of performances. And I just want to really open the doors up for people who to feel welcome in the theater. We say mi casa es tu casa, like my home is your home, or my house is your house, and you're welcome here. And I want to break a little bit of that barrier of that and that division. I would like for people to feel like they are welcome there, like their presence is very much a priority, because this is a conversation and this is a collective exploration. Also, this audience engagement is what I want to create before the show, during and after. So everybody's welcome, everybody from all ages and all walks of lives. And it would be really nice if they can also come with somebody that they know and that they can share in this experience with. And hopefully they can then ask each other questions and tell each other what makes them feel at home and what doesn't, and what makes them.
So the conversation has already started if they're listening to this. So then it'll be a continuation of that conversation, but then you hope they will continue after the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Well, I think anyone who of our audience is probably contemplating what home means. And so I think you'll have a great, where your audience, do you hope that people from around the world come? So people who have lived in the Netherlands their whole life, and also people who have been, this world is your oyster. Do you hope both kinds of people come?
I do. And I think also some people from other countries are going to come see it. And hopefully I'll get to perform it quite a few more times, hopefully also in Amsterdam and in The Hague at some point. And then other new people will get to see it.
Okay. Well, update us about your shows too. So if someone can't make the 18th, we'll put the rest of the shows in the...
Yeah.
Thank you for your time today. I love that the conversation is starting now and can continue through your very beautiful show and vessel. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing the show.
Thank you, Mickelle. Thank you.
Okay, that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed our show. For the latest insights on living internationally,
Join us at houseofperegrine.com to find out how you can connect with our community. Let's craft our life story with intention together.